In today's I'm Perfectly Divine podcast, we are talking about who, what, how to trust. This is something that's so important these days, and I can't wait to get started.
Welcome to the I'm Perfectly Divine podcast, a place for the strong, sensitive, spiritual seeker to recognize the perfection of your human journey as a pathway and spiritual worlds through proven and grounded frameworks that support you to live in the wholeness you already are. For over the past 2 decades, I have supported people from all around the world, as well as Fortune 500 companies, to dissolve the divisions within them and live with greater empowerment and love. This podcast is an exploration of the paradoxes that befuddle us as we live our lives being both human and divine. Together, you and I, along with other experts, will navigate integrating psychology and spirituality, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, the darkness and the light, to create greater sacred union from within. I believe through your remembering that you are innately divine, that you will allow yourself to more openly shine. So let's get to it, because your unique light is needed more than ever.
Hello, beautiful souls. It's Michelle Bursell, and I am so excited to talk to you today about who, what, how to trust. Because, of course, I want you to always be trusting yourselves, but we're living in this world where there is not only a lot of noise, but a lot of manipulated noise. And so we have all sorts of ways that our perception can be manipulated. And so it's so important now more than ever to know how to really trust yourself and how to really detect what is going on in the world when we are seeing things filtered, videos manipulated, audios manipulated, people plugging in whoever they want to be into ChatGPT and spitting that out to you. I mean, you could plug in, I want to sound like a Harvard professor talking about self-trust, and I'm sure it could spit out something that makes you sound incredibly smart, right? And so how do we know what to trust? How do we know how to trust ourselves and what we are experiencing? And what I was going to say before I said experiencing is, how do you know how to trust what you're experiencing is really how you're feeling. And so this comes down to our relationship with ourselves and with our feelings. So one of the things that I think is really important is how to build trust. I'm going to take you to where you probably don't want to go, but it's so crucial, and it's the easiest and most effective way to get back to building trust within yourself so that you can navigate the external more easily. Now, I'm not saying this is foolproof, but I really want you to have a solid foundation within yourself. Of course, the more technology becomes manipulated, the more difficult it takes our brains a while to adjust. That just because we're seeing something on video, just because someone's sounding really cool and smart on Instagram, doesn't mean that they're actually walking their talk. Doesn't mean that there's somebody that you should trust. And so while it is going to take our brains some time to adjust to that, hey, what we're seeing may not actually be reality, our heart, our inner wisdom always knows. It's always guiding us back to our inner knowing. And this is what I so appreciate about many of the spiritual paths, because when you look into all sorts of different spiritual traditions, they're really about guiding you back to the heart so that you do know yourself, so that you aren't manipulated by your own ego, so that you can be more of the love that you were born to be. And so this, for me, is really how psychology and mind, body, spirit, and emotion get interwoven with our spiritual desires to grow into a more expansive expression of love. And so where I want to guide you on the most efficient and effective way to getting back to trusting yourself is when things aren't quite going how you want them to. So, what do I mean by this? Well, when you've made a mistake or when you are experiencing a negative feeling, when you're feeling off. Why? Because these are instances when we know we're being shown we're out of alignment. So we want to utilize these instances where we're out of alignment, where we made a mistake, or again, our emotions are saying, yo, something is off internally. This is why I'm feeling anxious or what have you, or maybe it's more intense and you're really feeling sad and down and what have you. We have internal signals guiding us. Something's off. Something in our inner psychology is off. We want to know this because by knowing where we're off, how we're off, which is what your emotions are trying to tell you, they're going to help you course correct back into your truth. The same is happening when we make a mistake and we get some sort of outcome that we did not want, right? We're getting the feedback, this probably isn't the right way to go. And so when we go to this efficient and effective path to trusting, one of the biggest pieces that we have to hold for ourselves is compassion. I love compassion because clearly it's the opposite of arrogance, it's humility. And I do believe that when we are guided spiritually to grow, we're guided to grow from a place of love. We're also guided to grow with humility, knowing that as much as we seek to know ourselves and understand life, there is a part of us that will likely have blind spots, will likely not be able to perceive everything, and yet we continue to do our best to lean into our inner wisdom and what we do know, and to grow from our mistakes, grow and learn what is making us feel out of an alignment internally so we can get back. And so this compassion for ourselves when this happens really allows the mistake or the negative feeling not to be so intense. I mean, this is what I love about practicing this empowered psychological approach, is that as much as I am an emotionally sensitive person, I feel that this is not a path about learning to manage your feelings. Managing is trying to control them and it can also be this kind of manipulation that we're trying to navigate our way from the expression of the negative feeling that we don't want, and we're trying to sprint over to getting back to feeling positive feelings, or at least neutral, without receiving the gnosis, the wisdom, the insight that we're trying to get. And so that's the difference to me, is like managing, it's like there's a problem that you're continuing to try to rectify and work with and control, versus when your psychology and your negative emotions become your ally, you don't have to manage them. And this is the beauty. They become the insight to guide you to get back on track. And so where we want to begin, my negative feelings are off. I'm getting an outcome that I don't want. I've made a mistake, and I can have compassion for myself and for my feelings, where I can go towards it, which means I'm not judging myself, and I'm able to look at the experience from a lens of love, and what can I learn? And what can I learn then can bring us to empowerment, right? Because the next step that compassion is going to give us, and by the way, the more we practice true compassion for ourselves, the more we're able to naturally give that to others. Again, this is a trait I think we are missing these days, and we want to be able to bring back towards one another. And again, I think this is just, we're so connected to each other in artificial ways. we're not face to face. We're not seeing each other and the real life outcomes. We're seeing these curated aspects that we're putting out online to one another. Again, and the ways that that can be manipulated right now is just insane. And so the more we can have compassion for ourselves, the more we're going to show up differently in the world with compassion towards others, with compassion for what our brains are trying to process that we are seeing that may not connect to what is in our hearts and within our inner knowing. And so we want to have compassion that there's a gap right now with that the technology is changing our brains. And the more we can tune inward, the more we're going to have the advantage to continue to use our brains and use our hearts and our minds and our emotions and our spirit and our body in a way that is in alignment with our true selves. So with compassion, we can go in. And then when we go in, what we're looking for really are, what are my values? And where am I off the values that are coming from my higher self? So our higher self is not about perfection. Our higher self is this part of us that wants to experience the gifts and blessings of life. And part of the gifts and blessings of life are the complications. Like, our higher selves want to experience love. And let's face it, love is not all butterflies and rainbows. It can be difficult. It can be the murkiness that we're willing to wade through in order to gain clarity. It's the tough times that we've got to sit with within ourselves or with someone that we love, and be supportive with compassion as we navigate through mistakes. So our higher selves will ultimately lead us to greater freedom where life feels easier. And that's what I love about when our values start to align with our higher selves, because life actually does become easier. If, which is the next step, we are in integrity with our values. So being in integrity with our values is, are we walking our talk? And this is why going into your mistakes or your negative emotions is your most effective and efficient way to understanding if you are walking your talk, because you got to get real and honest about what made you go off your path that is going to give you an outcome that you don't want, right? So first we're going to our mistakes, that's step number one, or negative feelings that don't feel good, we're getting an external outcome that we don't want. So external outcome or internal outcome that we don't want. I don't want to feel bad. I'm experiencing this negative feeling. Then we go to compassion, step number two. Step number three, what are my values? How can I get clear about my values in this situation? Because something was probably off. We learn from that with compassion. We learn greater self-gnosis with self-love, self-gnosis just being inner wisdom. And then from that place of self-love, we're guided to walk our talk. And this is very difficult. This is my whole point to this podcast of I'm perfectly divine, because our human experience is so freaking challenging that it is perfectly set up for us to over and over learn the lessons until we got it, of how to get back into alignment with our higher selves. And again, the more we do that, the easier life becomes. But the good news is, if we have that human misstep, which we're going to have while we're learning, while we're practicing, we come back to either experiencing a mistake or a negative emotion. And that is the opportunity to know ourselves even better, know ourselves even more deeply. What did I miss? What didn't I see? With the lens of compassion. And so again, as you give this to yourself, you're able to give this more to others. But this is also the opportunity of when I am connecting in the online world, am I paying attention to just the words that someone is saying? And I'm like, yes, I like that. Or I like how they dress. Or I like their mannerisms. I don't know. These are all the ways that the ego can get involved that really is not about what to tune into to trust. You want to be listening to people that have the outcomes that you're looking for, or the internal energy that you are looking to create more of. Because this is the way that if you're trying to become in greater alignment with your values, with your truth, even if your values are different, that someone is showing you, hey, you can have these outcomes. You can have this place of integrity. And as long as your values are overall, a general umbrella of matching, then that's somebody that you can trust. They don't have to dress like you do. They don't have to say things like you do. And I think this is really important because for women, we can be really more challenged by this, and not as our egos can get involved with that, rather than looking at how can I understand what this person's outcomes are as much as possible outside of the curated life that we're seeing on social media. What is their real life like? And is that something that resonates for me? That then gives you guidance on what you can trust that feels good within your heart, within your being, within your knowingness. And the more you can tune into people that emulate that in your social media feed, the better you're going to feel. And the better you feel, the more you are being shown that you are in alignment with your values. And the more we're living from that place, the easier life becomes. So the whole point of learning to trust ourselves is to gain deeper self-gnosis, self-understanding. When we understand ourselves, we can listen to our emotions. We can listen to our body when it's hungry or not, when it needs sleep or not. And if we follow these internal signals, then we can learn to trust what our mind is saying, because our mind is going to be in greater alignment with our higher selves. And we're actually more attuned to our intuition, to our higher selves, knowing of what is right for you. So continue to allow yourself to go inward when these mistakes happen, with compassion, with self-love, and as well as when negative feelings arise, because they're here to guide you, support you. You don't have to manage them. We've got enough to manage. And managing, again, is this kind of old notion around control that is not aligned with living a life that feels free, living a life that allows you to be expansive. You can't be expansive when we're trying to control over here. So all these ways are guiding you to know yourself, love yourself, and trust yourself. So I hope this supports you in remembering that you do know, despite all the manipulations going on the external, and you know when someone is speaking to you from their heart, because you'll feel it in your heart. So continue to open your heart to the ways of others that are guiding you to remain in alignment with your heart and with your higher self and with values that speak to you. Because the more you build upon this, again, the easier life becomes. So I hope this supports you. If you feel that this will support others who have a hard time trusting themselves, who feel confused by everything that's going on in the world, please share this episode. I would greatly appreciate continuing to grow people who are on this path to living their life expansively. I just want you to just remember that life is meant to be easier for us when we tune in, when we trust ourselves. And so the whole point is to know ourselves so that we can expand our capacity to love, our capacity to be humble with compassion towards ourselves and others. And as we do, aligning ourselves with our truth and with our values, life becomes so much easier, and you will begin to get more and more of the outcomes internally and externally that you desire. So until next time, know that there is nothing to fix, just to remember. I look forward to seeing you soon. Until then, take care.
I am so honored you have joined me today. If you enjoyed the I'm Perfectly Divine podcast, subscribe so you don't miss any of our power-filled episodes. Also, if you know another who is strong, sensitive, and spiritual and wants to dive deeper into emotions and ancient wisdom so they too can create profound peace and fulfillment from within, please share this podcast. Thank you again for joining me, and I look forward to reconnecting with you soon.